In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Um, nice to see everybody again. We are in the final stretch. I'm sorry about the live meeting yesterday not going through just because of some travel interruptions as I figured that out. God willing, there will be a live meeting next week, which will be prepping for Pascha. I'm saying that because I know that lots of people have attended that before. There's not going to be tons new. It's just advice and things you can do for Pascha, helping people understand uh, the narrative, the scripture that we're going through, some of the rituals and the rites and ways that you can make the most of the week, um, and stuff like that. So for those of you who want a refresher or haven't heard it, great. If not, if you've been it before, um, just it'll be the same. So no worries if you don't want to hear it out again. After that, the meeting obviously is going to hold for Pascha week, um, and also the week after, because I always, after Holy Week, take a week of not doing meetings and stuff like that. So the weekday will be gone for then. I'm gonna eventually break for this summer. I just need to figure out when all the colleges end. I'll still probably during that period post videos. They just might not be the live regular session, and there might also be still a live session on a different day. Just because in the summer we're all free. I'm hoping we can maybe have like a cycling location point for a meeting, for barbecues, bonfires, walks on the beach, game nights, incorporated that maybe don't need to be static in location, so we can get everybody out and doing stuff together. So stay tuned for that, and I'll probably be using the Discord server for that. So if you're not on the Discord, then sign up. Um, it is the end of Lent almost. I can't believe how fast it came. I had actually originally wanted to put updates throughout Lent, and before we knew it, we're almost done already. So stay strong. We're almost there. This is the time I think where many of us are wanting to cut corners, starting to be like, oh, we're almost there, take it easy. But it's not the time for that. So encourage each other, help each other. Let's ride through this last place before the finish line, which is Holy Week, which is intensive. Um, for those of you, so many people said that this was the first year that they're really excited about it. And so I feel even more badly that I wasn't checking in, because I hope you've kept that excitement. I know there's going to be so much fruit from those of you who have taken it really seriously, to work on for an actual spiritual agenda. So I'm excited for you guys. It'll be cool to check in after, find out what went well, what didn't. And then next year, I'm going to also make sure that there are and then also feedback from you guys of like what you guys are feeling throughout the weeks, so that we can help carry each other through. I know some groups are getting together and reading together. Some have been doing book studies, Bible studies. It's beautiful. I'm actually so impressed with the different ways you guys have been creative in your pursuit of holiness. I wanted to talk maybe this week. Sorry for those of you in St. Louis, because this is going to be very familiar. Is that what we talked about in Sunday at St. Louis, I feel is a good thing to talk about in general for all of us. And I'm going to use the paralytic to have this conversation. I'm laughing because everyone who knows me well knows that I really struggle with the paralytic, the man by the pool. Um, he's a difficult character to me to swallow. I know some people love him and his endurance and all of those things. I struggle for different reasons, but I want to use the paralytic to talk about negativity, complaining, the dangers of speech, um, because this is something becoming even more common, and speech being not only in person, which is a big deal, but I think speech now doesn't only mean that. Speech also means what we post, what we write, what we message, what we DM, what we send each other, whether in person, face to face, or digitally or electronically. Um, so let's zoom in a little bit on the paralytic, and what what we can learn from an atmosphere or a climate or environment that welcomes negativity and harmful speech. So, I mean, the very context of the paralytic, physically, geographically, is already kind of difficult because you know that he is by the pool. It's near the temple, actually. And archaeologists have actually, it's kind of cool if you're into that stuff, have found that place, or what they believe is that place with the five porches. Um, and everybody who's sick is there, everybody who's longing for a miracle. So while there might be some that are there with this sense of wanting hope, at the same time, everyone there is sick. Everyone there is burdened. Some people are there like believing they're gonna die, and maybe will. Um, it's a dark place. It's like being in a hospital sick ward, maybe in the ICU, but where there's no special partitioning. Everyone's just there. So I mean, the actual climate is negative, and I think that's a good symbolism to this whole conversation. Is that it's a place of death, a place of darkness. Um, and in spite of this, the Lord goes in and singles out this man, who for almost 4 decades has been by the pool. And we have no idea how old he is. We only know that for 38 years he's been in this location. That doesn't mean that he's 38 years old. For all we know, he might be in his 50s, 60s, 70s. We're not really sure. But right from the get-go, the Lord asks this man, do you want to be healed? And his answer is not like, yes, of course, I would love that. It's nobody helps me, right? It's an immediate negative. There's no one to take me into the pool. Every year this happens, and nobody helps me. And honestly, he must be mostly right. I mean, maybe someone helped and failed, but um, and it might be that really the community hasn't been helping out in these tough times. So I'm not even disputing the factuality of what he's saying. But instead of looking for what's good or what's right, he focuses right away on the wrong, on the bad, on the negative, on what he wishes to have but doesn't have. So we need to ask, are we those people who, when someone asks how your day was, it's an immediate what was wrong with it, right? Of being like, oh man, this happened, or this sucked because of blah, 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 or, it was going fine until, and we go straight for something that we don't like. Um, are you the kind of person, or for example, if someone praises your family, you immediately talk about what's wrong with the people being praised? And I always laugh because sometimes, like, more as a priest than before priesthood, because before priesthood I didn't have much reason to talk to any like of the parents unless there's a specific issue. But then like, oh wow, like this is so beautiful about your child or about your family or about something, and then the response isn't like, oh Nushkala Bina or by the grace of God. It's like, no, 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 that guy, you just don't know him. And I mean, yes, occasionally that's joking, but often it's not, of how bad this person is and how I was misguided to think that they were virtuous. Same thing with servants sometimes, like, oh wow, that servant's amazing, like, oh but be careful, that person has this issue. And we never just stop and say, wow, this person has this good thing about them. That's something that we do. But this man doesn't just stop at there's no one to help me. It's not just, oh, no one's helping me, it's and all these other people get in the way, right? So it's here's what else is wrong. You start to see everyone else as problems, right? When all you see is negative, your will becomes paralyzed, right? And so you don't know how to use your freedom well anymore. Your agency, that's what the will is. Your ability to choose becomes paralyzed because all you see is what's wrong with things. If you say everyone else is the problem because they're not helping you or that they're preventing you, what is the natural result that you're going to have from that? You're going to isolate yourself from them, right? You're not going to be around them or to interact with them. And so your interpretation of the world can become so negative that you just can't see the good. And when you can't see the good, the Lord of glory himself could be standing right in front of you, and it wouldn't matter because you'll only see the negative that you want to see, which is literally what happened with this man, right? That's what happened to the Pharisees. I mean, so many of these people where God is before them, and it doesn't matter. And obviously, we're going to see through Holy Week. They'll slap him, they'll smite him. We're so blind. Um, this has so much to do with your interpretation of the world. And because of this, so many people are immune to help. Um, and it's interesting, like people who are in this place, they might say that they wish that somebody would ask about them. But then when someone does, it's like, oh, it's too late, right? بعد إيه? After what, right? أنت لسه فاكر, right? You still remember, and it's sarcastic, it's negative, it's harsh, and it makes the person asking feel like they need to withdraw. If someone offers apologies, you might not accept it. Again, with the whole after what, you might even be asked. You might even be asked by the person, "What can we do to make it better?" And your response is either nothing, um, or if they give you an answer, you might just accuse them of being insincere anyway, because you're so locked in your negativity, right? It's so dangerous and it's so common. Like as an aside, this is a building block that often leads to excedia or despondency, because of the isolation that results from this. The next thing is that spirit of negativity makes you completely ungrateful. So that even when a good thing happens, you don't have gratitude anymore. This man, when he was healed, he doesn't thank the Lord. He just leaves and meets people who are negative like him, right? He gets his miracle, takes his bed, he walks. The Pharisees, seeing the miracle, are annoyed that the Lord did a miracle on the Sabbath. They're negative too, right? They're not seeing, oh wow, miracle. They're seeing, oh wow, Sabbath, breaking rules. Our world, we're in charge. You're wrong. Immediate negativity, right? Um, they see someone breaking the law, but the man is questioned. Why are you doing this? And he doesn't say a good word about the Lord. He actually lets out that he doesn't even know who healed him. It's mind blowing to me, right? How is it that somebody just changed your life in the most significant way that you have seen in at least 4 decades, right? This should probably be the most mind bending thing you've ever had in your life, that someone by command alone has caused you to not be paralyzed anymore, and you don't even know who he is, right? It's mind blowing. But he just says, "Oh, I don't know. The one who healed me told me to do this," right? But let's pause for a second. Your place of negativity, because we talked about whether it was other people's fault, they weren't helping. In this case, we see that the place that he's in is actually his fault, right? Because he ends up encountering the Lord again. And the Lord says to him, don't sin anymore, lest a worse thing happen. Not all the miracles of Christ did he single out that sin caused the issue, right? As we see with the man born blind on Sunday, he'll explicitly actually say it isn't sin, right? But this is one of the cases where it's like, no, whatever you are choosing to do, you're the cause, right? You created this scenario that resulted in these outcomes. Um, And so the Lord reproving, and the Lord doesn't defend him. So the Lord isn't like, oh my goodness, how could you say that? I heard that you were talking about me. I know that you were talking about me. No, no, no. He only cares about this person. He just says, hey, khali balak, take care. This could cause you more issues. And the man doesn't heed the warning. It takes him to more negativity. And this is where destructive speech comes in: gossip, scandalizing people, passing information, unnecessary information. The man doesn't heed the warning. He doesn't think, wow, I'm so fortunate, right? Um, I've been healed. No, he's trained to be negative and he enjoys negative speech. And he runs to the very people that he knows, right? He knows that they don't like the Lord. They were upset. They're mad that he was doing what he was doing, right? He's upset. But instead, right, what does he do? He wrecks them. He wrecks the Lord. Sorry, he runs back to the same people and says, I know who it is, knowing that they're not asking because they're excited about him. They want to praise him too. They want to invite him to give a talk at the temple. No, they want to wreck him. Um, and he runs to those that don't know the Lord and he says, it was him, it was him, it was him. And it's so easy to condemn him for this, but I honestly, I think we all do the same. How often do we bring up things we've observed in others, even when we know it's going to make someone dislike someone or dislike them more, right? How often do we tell spouses, colleagues, friends, fellow servants unnecessary data to feed what we already know is going to be received badly, right? Where I know that in saying this, it's gonna sechen or stoke another person's already negative feelings about somebody. It's very dangerous, but I think we do this a lot. How how often do we bring up gossip from work or church or our friend group to others? Right? Not caring what it may or may not do to people. Um, do you tell your friends what you saw someone say or do that you know is going to make them think negatively of someone else? Because we have no idea what the result of such speech can be. We have no idea, and it can be very bad. In the case of Christ, this specific encounter of the Gospel of John, chapter 5, the specific one causes the Lord to be under trial for the whole rest of the gospel, right? You'll see that there's this constant anger at him. If you look at John 7 through 10, for example, during one of the feasts of the tabernacles, you'll see that the Lord is in the middle of something, and so many of the readings actually from that ongoing trial that the Lord is going through because of this incident, we read during Pascha week, where the Lord, it seems like suddenly out of nowhere, is addressing something that he wasn't talking about. Where he's like, what do you guys want? Right? And he's like, you're mad at the miracles? Okay, well, okay, I'm on trial because this thing that they're doing to him isn't just some random thing. This has a death penalty. He's bringing up stuff that causes that this is guilt. If he's guilty, causes a death penalty. And the Lord is calling the Father as his witness, the prophets as his witness, his works as a witness. And it's this ongoing thing, and they're talking about all times like, but we know about that situation. And then we'll see that the man born blind is the same thing. We'll come back to that section and that concept, sorry, in a second. But the result of this guy's negative speech is that the Lord is on trial for the rest of his earthly life. They would not leave him alone, right? He gave them fodder for their fire, for their trial. And so you might be saying something that you think is innocent, but you cause someone's downfall. You might be, what if your gossip at work gets somebody fired, right? What if you're speaking with a mutual friend and that breaks down their friendships or causes a family fight because of something someone's trying to hide or that others didn't know about? You can do so much long-term damage by not controlling that tongue, right? We scandalize people. We scandalize communities by not controlling our speech and then repeating the things that we heard and repeating the scenarios that we saw when it is completely unnecessary. And it helps us create a very negative environment that then everybody complains about and says, we don't like church, we're judged, it's hypocrisy, people do this, 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 and this. Well, we're all those people who are doing those very things. Instead of focusing on if others are doing it, ask if you are doing it. The next kind of bad speech here is speaking like you know what you're talking about. The sin of the Pharisees in the story is this. They do know some facts. Okay. Healing on the Sabbath, that was a law that came from God. Not the healing, the honoring the Sabbath was a law that came from God. That is from God. They're not wrong. How to practice the Sabbath is something that they came up with. Right? So they had specific rules. One of them actually is even down to the nitty-gritty of carrying your bed. And so that's why Christ here to them is guilty of not only the dishonor of the Sabbath, but how he carried the bed. But they forgot that they made up that part of the law. right? That's why Christ in other stories is like, guys, you're letting people heal and take care of animals on the Sabbath, but not human beings, right? But these are people who think that they know what they're talking about, but they don't have it right. They made up the rules, and then they're holding people accountable to the social rules that they made up. But they talk, they speak like they know everything, and they also wanted to know who doesn't think like them. That clearly became part of the culture, right? That's why in so many cases everyone's happy to run back to the Pharisees, like aha, 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 right? And the man born blind next week, we're going to see on Sunday, we're going to see the same thing, where there's a healing, and who goes to the Pharisees? The crowd, the people. That's us. The randoms on the side, we go running, like, aha, I saw this, this, and this. And their negative speech, the Pharisees and these crowds, created negative environments as well. The Pharisees actually started like first century truth police, right? Um, they yell at everyone for being wrong and saw themselves as a standard of truth. But do we behave like this? Do we walk around assessing everyone and everything and talking like we're the standard of knowledge and truth? They were angry that the Lord made himself equal with God because they were so blinded by their own so-called truth, they missed out that actually he really is. Like one of their accusations is, you think you're God. And it was true. He is. But they're blinded, completely blinded, because they view themselves as standard of truth. And they wanted and continue to be functioning as that. They would have walked away from God saying that he's crazy, that he's pretentious, not realizing that it's their own arrogance and pride that had made them think that they were right when they were so painfully wrong. So we should all try very hard to question ourselves so we can start practicing taming our tongue. Why am I speaking? Is it my place to speak? Is it my position to speak? Is it my role to speak? Do I know the whole truth actually, or am I functioning like I do? Does this thing that I'm about to say bring up people's names? Does it or could it do damage? Is there a necessary reason to speak? Do I really believe that I understand the whole situation? And why do I believe that? Are there better things to say or do or talk about? If you do this, you'll find that there's often very little reason to speak about most of the things that we speak about. Now, if you do mess up, the best thing to do is to apologize right away for what you have done wrong, right? Um, Publicly, or just saying, hey, that speech, what I was just saying, that was inappropriate. I do that even as a priest, right? I shouldn't have done that. If you remember in the moment, send a text out to the group. Hey guys, FYI, I'm reflecting on what I was talking about and I shouldn't have. I don't even know. I could be wrong. I could have misunderstood. Whatever it is, it's not how we should speak. Make it abnormal to speak wrongly, right? Make it an intentional thing to remove it from your life. But in this story, the Jews are blinded by the five porches, which some of the fathers say are a symbol of the law. They were obsessed with the law and they missed the truth, right? The paralytic, so they were blinded by the law. The paralytic was blinded by his bitterness, right? They're both blind. But Bethesda, where this healing happened, means the house of mercy. The Lord is willing to work with anything in us that's willing. He was working with the paralytics, a whole messed up persona with speech and complaining. He's like, it's okay, I'll still heal. I'm not saying no just because of your mess up. He didn't respond with negativity or self-defense, even when the paralytic betrayed him. He was willing to work with the paralytic, wanting to want to be healed, right? God didn't care about the systems that the Pharisees made or the social system they set up or who prevented the man from getting into the pool. That was not his concern. He didn't get into that useless conversation. Yeah, Rogel, really? These guys didn't do it? How come? 38 years? How? None of that. He was concerned about his son, the paralytic himself, the one who was suffering and could be healed. The Lord is concerned with every single one of us. And are we so blinded by our negativity and our environments that our wills become paralyzed? or do we want to be found by him? We need to ask if we're putting ourselves in the place of receiving grace. I think our speech should be governed by what St. Paul says about how to think. This should also be how to act. Whatever things are true, honest, just, pure, lovely, of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, he says, think on these things, and if thinking on these things, also speaking on these things. May God grant us to not have that spirit of negativity and to put our hope in Him, and our make our speech and our minds and our environments holy to the glory of His name. Glory be to God forever. Amen. Um, for Pascha week, it's going to be a tough one for me, but my apologies in advance to Madison and Champaign, as I won't be able to make it in the rotation for this Holy Week. God willing, Eve of Palm Sunday and Palm Sunday morning will be in Minnesota. Sunday evening will be Iowa. Monday evening will be Nebraska. Tuesday evening will be Kansas City. Wednesday evening will be St. Louis, Missouri. Thursday morning will be St. Paul's, Chicago. Thursday evening, St. George. Great Friday, St. Mark's. Joyous Saturday, Milwaukee. And the Feast of the Resurrection this year at St. Mary's. Can't wait to see everybody. And the mornings will be based on where I am on the road, etc. I wish everybody a blessed Pascha, anticipating a blessed feast, and ask your prayers as always.